Hello Rush fans, Paul here. So I am finally getting around to filming my tribute and mini Rush museum I set up post Neil's passing. We love you, Neil, as much as a fan can. So I'm going to just show you the discography of the band quickly, and then we'll try and get to some of the gems for you Rush fans who already have all this stuff, except the gems that I have, and maybe you do. Anyway, there'll be a lot of terms that I use that people's names you non-fans don't get, but anyway, let's get to it. So we're just going to go over here and start with their first album, Rush, 1974. That was actually Geddy and Alex playing about 6 years before that was even done. That's why they were so good. And John Rutsey, the original drummer, and he got diabetes. They had just got booked on a North American tour, so he had to go. And it almost makes it a little romantic that then came Neil in at that point, introduced the professor, and Neil, the literary drumming genius, came in next for Fly By Night and their second LP, followed by Caress of Steel. This one didn't go over so well. Down the Tubes tour, they called it, and that's because it was the second concept album. Back in the day, some albums were written, one song would take the entire side of an album, so that didn't go over as well with the pop media, and anyway, or what the record companies wanted. But this was their breakthrough, kind of a, if we're gonna go down after the quote failure, for lack of a better term, of Caress of Steel, we're gonna go down big and do it our way. They wrote a full concept album again, and it was 2112 and 76 broke them through. And we won't go into that symbol too much, but it is a communist star representation that is the government oppressing a man who found a guitar, who is stripped without clothing because he's completely vulnerable against the government. That's what it was, the sign. There it is. And he found a guitar, and they said, nope, you can't do that. No creativity, no music, no spirituality. So anyway, this was actually Archives, just a compilation of their first 3 albums released after 2112, then a Farewell to Kings, more concept album, got into the space kind of fiction, and carried on into Hemispheres. Hemispheres was just where they really pushed themselves for the last time. They worked so hard, and the craftsmanship was so over the top, and the music quality, that they walked away and said that was too much. We need to relax a little bit. No more theme albums. So they went to Permanent Waves, and they got it down to about 7-minute songs. It's not quite the 3-minute that radio wants, maybe 10 minutes. Anyway, the inside album covers, that I was showing you, that's how they did it back then. Just such cool artwork back here. There's the inside album cover to the album cover. Hemispheres inside album cover. That's from a CD, actually. And just such cool artwork. It's cool they're coming back. Then we jump to Moving Pictures, and that was the second huge breakthrough in '80, where they got real big. Inside album cover. And then I missed, excuse me, their first live album, All the World's a Stage. Back in, up until 97, 98, they did a live album every 4 albums, 4 studio albums. Look at this, platform shoes. Gotta love the garb of the 70s. Isn't that great? Hey, there's Howard in front. And the road crew. Anyway, second live album, Exit Stage Left. Who was that? Yogi Berra, the dog? I can't remember. And then we go there. Then we come down to... This is when they ventured away from the harder stuff, got into synthesizers. That's Signals. That's actually the tour book, but there's the back side of the album, or inside sleeve, back side of the album, the subdivision. And it's funny if you look close, Rush fans will know, but it's got like Lurks, Drive, Pratt, Way. Anyway, Lurks, Dirk, and Pratt, nicknames for the guys. That's the front of the album, Signals. My first concert in 1982, Jumping Over. They next went way different into Grace Under Pressure. Not as guitar heavy as extra guitar heavy, because Signals was so dominated by keyboards. But beautiful picture. Beautiful, nice job, Hugh Syme, who designed all their album covers. Then got a lot more of a balance, but Geddy became a big orchestrator here with the synthesizer still, inside sleeve. Back the album cover. And then boom, presto, or Hold Your Fire, inside sleeve. That's just a image over a tiny teeny model. That's how they did stuff in 1987. No CGI back then. Third live album, Show of Hands. There's the front album cover, CD version. Inside. Then, missed that show. Third Row for Grace. Power Windows, Front Row by Ged. Went to the front of the ticket line, said, "Hey man, buy me $100. It's $100. Buy me a ticket for right in front of Geddy," and he did, and that's how. Anyway, Geddy did his little leg kick up until stopped about Power Windows. Presto, Hand Over Fist. That was one of the songs. Neil said Presto, their album was, Presto meant like boom, magic, but also Presto like the recipe's done, or something like that. Counterparts album after that. And that was trying to go back to heavier, got totally away from synthesizers. And then that led to Test for Echo, Video Vertigo, CD. That's the last album I have. It's Presto. And Roll the Bones. There you go. But the album, the cover is got Neil's picture taken up. So, then there's Alex's after Roll the Bones. He did his solo album in '97, Victor. I never read the story. Sorry, Alex. He got I Mother Earth to do the play on it. Compilation DVD Chronicles. That's a double CD compilation. This is Spirit of the Radio, another compilation album. Much later, then we go into, yeah, there's Chronicles CDs. But after Test for Echo in '97 is when Neil, his daughter says goodbye, gives him and his wife a hug going to college, and unfortunately she's in a car accident, took her life. Very sad. But the fourth live album, Different Stages, which is from that tour, but if you see in the middle, that's a shot they threw in from Farewell to Kings at the Hammersmith Odeon in London. A live album. There's the Hammersmith, famous venue. Geddy down here in the corner, scalping tickets. Love it. Alex being hauled away to the loony bin and straight jacket. Neil peeking through the window right there, middle of the screen, to the right of the sign if you're facing it. Then Neil took a 5-year hiatus because his wife passed from breast cancer, if I didn't mention. And they came back screaming back with Vapor Trails. And then they did subsequent live album. They did a live album after every tour after that. This was Rush in Rio. They went down to Rio, played for the biggest crowds they had ever, 60,000. There's Rio again. That darn dragon. And then actually on the hiatus, Geddy came out with his solo album and did that. This occurred right about 9/11 actually. And then after the Rio tour, they did Feedback because they didn't have time to do a studio album before they went on their 30th anniversary tour. So they did Feedback, which is a bunch of covers of different bands that influenced them. The Who, Blue Shares version of Summertime Blues. Really cool album. They took it on tour with our 30th anniversary, like I said. There's just some pictures. That's obviously Power Windows, Grace, Era from the inside, DVD cover. And then Snakes and Arrows from Chutes and Ladders is what I think it was originally called Snakes and Ladders. Anyway, the game. And Neil sent it to there. That's what the actual CD, Atlantic Records. No, never mind. That was different. Snakes and Arrows. That, I guess, is in Arizona, Mexico, somewhere. Back of the CD, Snakes and Arrows. Then we did Snakes and Arrows live. Then their final, they did Time Machine Tour in between there, which was the first time they did a tour without a supporting studio CD. And Clockwork Angels after that. Their last studio album, did 2 tours with that. They started doing Summer to Summer for their last few tours, and then anyway, now to the fun stuff. There was R40 after Clockwork Angels, by the way. Don't have that. Stopped collecting stuff quite a while ago. So this is my little Kiss tribute because Rush toured with Kiss for a long time. And they said they learned a lot from Kiss. So say what you will about Kiss, but Geddy himself said Kiss is the hardest working band to bring a good live show. And that's really, in many respects, that's the core of what Kiss is all about, the live show. But they got some pretty good music. And Gene, also, he helped discover Van Halen. So I got my little Eddie Van Halen pick and wore my Eddie Van Halen shoes for the shoot, and Kiss lunchbox, awesome, collectible, and Paul Stanley gave me that pick. Eric Singer, the current Kiss drummer, gave me that. And yeah, so let's go to the gems. So this is a double LP connected, and their first 2 albums, of course. And I don't know of any other, I've never seen this anywhere. And it's got German on it, and you know, it said Germany down there in the corner, and then it's like has some German writing on it, and says phonogram. And all I can research so far, even though it has Mercury on it, is it is like a precursor polygram, bought by this, bought by that, bought by that. It was pre-polygram, I believe, is what I'm gathering. And then anyway, haven't seen it anywhere. A real gem. And we move to the radio release, that promo disc for the DJs to play on the radio stations for permanent waves, entrance notice. Now this is just, oh, I'm second favorite. So excited. I just got this last week. On exit stage left, it says Max Webster, rest in peace. Well, it was a band from Toronto, not a guy. And what Rush did was play on this album, but before that song, talking to that, this is Pi Dubois. He wrote, helped Neil write the lyrics for Tom Sawyer, Force 10 song on Hold Your Fire, Test for Echo title song, and then also I think Between Sun and Moon. And so that's what's cool about this. And then Rush played on Battle Scar. Everyone played with everyone. See the credits there for the band. Rush on the left, Max Webster on the right. It was a song like about Native Americans and getting their butts kicked, unfortunately. And Rush urging along with Max, Rush, and crew. And I think it's got one more credit. So this is just, I was so excited to find this. How did it get here from Canada and to Colorado? I do not know. And then we got Rush Icon. That's a CD I picked it up in Walmart. I mean, Sam's or Costco, and I've never seen that compilation CD. Then we go to Anthology and compilation, Spanish. It's kind of a bootleg, I think. And then you got, I could have bought Through Time and what was it, 94 or something, and I didn't in the record store, the LP. This is just funny, Best of Groucho Marx. You Bet Your Life is a little game show. Neil did a song, You Bet Your Life, on Roll the Bones. And anyway, then I guess that's all the rare gems as far as LPs and stuff go. Then let's do this. Let's just go through some other oddballs. Actually, first, I think what I'm going to do... Okay, let's get to some of the fun stuff. Let's just talk about when I met them. So, first off, Power Windows Tour. Here's Geddy's autograph. And the way that all went down, see, it's on Ged Lee, or Glee, as UFO used to like to call him. Anyway, so what happened is after the show, headed up the fire escape, and yeah, I was one of the crazy fans, and trying to get to their room at the hotel across there from the venue, Salt Palace, rest in peace, or rather Delta's, yeah, Salt Palace. Anyway, and then a limo pulls up at that hotel, and Ged and Alex get out. So I come flying down the fire escape and run over to Alex and say, nice show, thanks a lot. And he says, thank you. And people have already swarmed around Geddy. And I said, all right, well, let's go ahead and get my pictures out of the car so he can sign them. Said to my buddies, go get them, and they said no way. And I said, well, why don't you, so I said fine. I ran across the street and almost got hit by a car, ran back, and by now Geddy is almost to the elevator in the hotel lobby, and I shouted out and walked by despite all these right here wrapped around my leg, pinned on me, and my Rush t-shirt. Hey guys, go ahead and, or I shouted out, hey Geddy, walked right through security, don't know how, looking like a fan, crazy kid. And I says, okay, went up to Getty and said, "Hey Getty, can you do you remember the '82 Signals tour?" And he said, "No." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And Boise, Idaho show? And he says, "No." And I says, "Oh, well, here's a picture from it. Can you sign it?" And from there, I also got that picture. Last time Neil used his double bass, but I says, "Getty, go ahead and can you sign this picture?" And he says, "Well, sure, but I need a pen." And he stuck out his hand, and I shook it, and he says, "No, I need a pen." So I gave him a pen. He signed it. Then everyone else swarmed around him. Well, while they were doing that, I went over to Howard and I said, "Hey, Howie." So I had talked to him because I had snuck backstage, crazy fans, and I said, "Hey, Howard," or I was backstage during the sound check, and fortunately it was right after the sound check, even though I was trying to get down why they were playing so I could talk to Ged, but they would have thrown me out, I'm sure. And I was standing there, I'm standing around, and looking at their guitars, Alex's classic white Gibson, Getty Steinberger, his 4001 Ricky. I could have walked off with anything, and I'm just like, oh, I can't take from my guys. So anyway, here comes Howard Ungelider, tour manager, lighting director, eventually moved to just lighting director. He also, Van Halen Link, did Van Halen 3 album tour for Van Halen. But anyway, he says, "What are you doing?" I says, "I'm just hanging out." And he says, "Well, be careful. My guys, a little security will have to hurt you if they catch you." So he was cool. And I said, "Well, hey, I sent to Getty Mr. Rush a long time ago in the backstage club." And he said, I says, "Do you know if he got that?" And he says, "I do not know." So that is Mr. Rush. And he runs around really fast. And zoom, 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 making weird lines. And what does that Mr. Rush have to do with Rush? I have no idea. No, that was a bad Pee Wee Herman. Anyway, so I had told him that backstage after the sound check, and he said, "Oh, I'll ask Eddie." I can't believe he said that. Anyway, it's probably just, anyway, he was cool. They're cool. And he says, "Oh, yeah, hey, Getty." Back to the hotel. And I said, he says, "Hey, this guy wants to talk to you. Do you have?" And I says, "Here, Getty." And Getty, I gave him Mr. Rush, the original, and that we used to have a lot of fun with in high school. He used to party with us. And anyway, Getty, initially I sensed he took offense to it because you can see the disproportion of the nose to the face. But Getty made a joke out of it on the roll Presto photographs. He had a whole bunch of noses to pick from lined up in the pictures on Presto, and just some song albums, a couple magazine articles. So then I gave Getty Mr. Rush, and another guy said, "Will you sign my t-shirt, Getty?" And he said no, and he got on the elevator because he was done, and that was that. And don't take that wrong, Getty was a great guy, really goes out for his fans, and decided that's just his job, and there's the master. Anyway, and all the entourage got on the elevator, and Getty says, he's still standing outside the elevator, just got the biggest kick out of Mr. Rush, and he's still holding it. And they said, "Hey, Getty," and he got on, and then he's still just tripping out on Mr. Rush, and off he went up the elevator. So that was the first story. Now the second story, going to the second time I met them, was after the passing of Jackie, Neil's wife, from breast cancer, and Celine in the car accident, Vapor Trails came out, and I said to myself, how can I meet them? And I said, well, I can get myself represented as press, certainly not a fan, maybe get some backstage passes. So I called the local college paper, the CU Advocate, Colorado University in Colorado Springs campus, and I said, making up, I am forming a Crossing Fingers nonprofit organization to help kids with music. Never got it formed, but I said, I want to advertise or donate cost of an advertisement and run it and pay for it. And they said, I says, and then I want to write a post-concert review and represent the CU Advocate paper. And they said, sure, that's fine. And by the way, we're big Rush fans. So here's the big bunny. No pun intended. I paid for that. They wrote me back and said, we're happy to run the ad, and this is great, and super duper, and they signed it. And I got to try to send this to those guys. Anyway, then they did that, and I made a billion phone calls. It took a long time to get the official ad got it from Crystal Productions finally. And they said, we don't need any help promoting Rush, but we'll send it to you. And then I also, after another more million phone calls, got a hold of the Director of Media Relations at Atlantic Records, Glenn Fukushima. Couldn't believe it. And he finally gets on the phone and says, oh yeah, sure, Paul Rush, whatever, yeah, you can go ahead and meet him and write an article, no problem, and we'll send you the press kit, and I'll have the interns do that. And they sent me, this is Neil's Behind the Making of Vapor Trails, and then all these magazine articles, way cool. And then, what else? This is an official press announcement of their tour, all the tour itinerary, the dates they're playing. And that wasn't all of them. There was more after that. So anyway, I got backstage and pit passes, and I almost didn't get in, but I got the pit passes, and I was able to take these pictures. This is my Geddy Lee tribute table, but take these pictures, and it was funny because I'm got a Rush shirt on, looking like a fan. Deck of cards, Rush deck of cards. And here's a good one. Is this thing on? Turn this mic on. Anyway, I was so close. I could have touched their pant legs if I wanted to. And I'm standing there, and I run out of film. All the professional photographers in there, they had like a million cameras on their neck, and I sure say million a lot. And I'm done after like 2-3 rolls of film, ran out, and standing there jamming out, singing every song. And Geddy and Alex are looking at me going, who's this crazy Rush fan? How did he get in here? How does he know all the words? Kind of odd for the press to be wearing a Rush t-shirt. And when I that's the photo pass, that's the meet and greet pass that got me this. Look in my hand. Mr. Rush. The books, I gave them to Geddy, and the baseball. 3 of 4 signatures from the Rockies, the second team in the original Blake Street Bombers, to get 4 home runs, 40 home runs each in a season. And I gave him the baseball, and he goes, ooh. And then I was talking crazy without a voice because I was screaming at Albuquerque the night before the Denver show. And anyway, that was that. Our 30 tour, I just went in, dropped a few names, ended up getting to meet him again. Asked Alex if he wanted to tour the Boeing facility in Seattle when they were there, and I was there, and set it up with the VIP with a vice president in my family. at the time, and he said, I'll be busy. Another Crazy Rush fan is what he's really saying. This is my tribute to those who have passed, and I left this up. These are my friends, and I left this up because this is a tribute to Neil, who's also passed. Look what shirt I'm wearing. I love you, Neil. Miss you, man. More Van Halen. My buddy steps off the plane. Sammy's standing there. And my beautiful cousin Clay passed away at 23. Absolute prodigy with guitar. Just mastered it in a matter of a few years. Sad, sad story. And trying to get sober over and over, and finally his heart gave out on him. Here's more pics. Alex, actually only, that's an okay one. That one's okay. Only 2 of those Marshall stacks were on, out of the stacks were on. That's a pretty good one. Alright. And then I published the article, or tried to, and they said, we got shut down, you can't do that. Said the college, because you're not a student. Now, when we snuck down in the basement at the Salt Palace, oh man, we got to go on the Salt Palace tour, and at the Vapor Trails in Salt Lake, and oh, that's my favorite. And Getty and Alex, they didn't have anyone in during sound check. Well, we got in during the Salt Palace tour, and because I was using right now. So I told the venues that we were writing an article on the different venues across North America, and they said, okay, and got a tour of the Salt Palace. That was cool, but they said no one's allowed in sound check, but you guys can come in. And so we stood up there and listening to Alex La Villa Stradiago, Strangiato ring out across an empty arena at full volume was just, no words to describe it unless you've heard it. Anyway, there they are doing their sound check. Alex, get on the right. Of course, Neil. It was funny because I thought Neil would come out and tune his drums, and then no, Tech already did that. Neil came out and went into like a 3-minute drum solo. That was cool. Anyway, backstage for that sound check. There's a good one. That's a real good one. Anyway, so we're down there in the bottom of the Salt Palace, back to that. And I wrote Howard a message, and this letter, and said, hey, the Advocate would like to thank Getty for letting us have the backstage and Atlantic Records and blah blah blah, and so we want to say thanks, and we understand he's a baseball fan, and we want to take him to the New York Mets game behind home plate, and I was going to just, scalp or get some tickets, and also give him a VIP tour of the Coors Field, the Colorado Rockies. And he then didn't hear anything back, but later on an interview, sometime later, here's Getty talking about, what he likes to do on the road, and he says, I think I'd like to go get tours of the baseball stadiums of the places I'm in. And I went, I gave him that idea. And anyway, so, and did I mention, I don't think I mentioned, Atlantic Records, the director of media relations, he said, yeah, whatever, Rush, we don't need help, but why don't you interview this, or why don't you write an article on this band and promote them for us, called Pulse Ultra. They're on Ozfest right now. And I said, oh, great, sure, we'll do that. And I said, can I get maybe an interview with him, and he said, yeah, and I'm like, how cool is this? I'm interviewing an Ozfest band. And unfortunately, I'm in Albuquerque at the show. So I sent my friend, and he was late, missed the interview, and then also he got pit passes for the photo pass for every band at Ozfest except Ozzy, who didn't want to be photoed. And I don't know what happened to those pictures, but they were totally crap, and what a bummer. Juan, you idiot. Anyway, found this on the floor at the Salt Palace, so I was going to, of course, just forge them all. Anyway, I'm so sorry I was dishonest. I sort of wasn't, but anyway, a little bit. And sorry I was such a crazy fan, Ged. But just make all those. And anyway, Getty said, you know, the guys like me, they're really intense, but that he knows how to handle it. I mean, for example, when he met Spaghetti Lee, he went over to his wife and said, I'm sorry you have to put up with him. Anyway, so he understands. And here's my fly-by-night owl kite concert t-shirts. Chronologically, that's the last one I got, but Signals, this is a gem because that's what I got from my first show. Stole it from my brother. Oh yeah, and Atlantic Records, they sent me that in the press kit. Here's Retrospective 1, a compilation album. Never did that, but never got Retrospective 2, but there's just some old DVDs. Rush and Ted Nugent interview. Rush used to actually switch opening acts when they were interviewing, touring with Ted. There's a 76 live album or live video. It's on YouTube now, like everything, but and then this was cool because it was from after, I think, Presto or no, it was Roll the Bones. Mr. Big opened up for him. It's crazy because on Presto it talks about Mr. Big, and then anyway, they opened up for him, and I still haven't figured out if there's a connection because anyway, they said Mr. Big, they gave him album credits, but Paul Gilbert, the guitarist, threw that out to me, and then I went over and shook Billy Sheenan's hand, master bass player, before he walked off stage. There's the guys. Where's Getty? Getty fell up. Where's Getty? Oh, there's Getty. Poor Getty. Signals. There's a Steinberger when we started playing that. Anyway, concert t-shirts. Power. T-free. Different stages. That live album, by the way, is special to me because I actually was released on my birthday. And Snakes and Arrows Live. I forgot this gem. That's bass. That's guitar, music books. This is, I don't know. Anyway, actually stays right. Guy did a string quartet of Rush. It's really pretty, really nice, and he said they had to kind of try to replace Neil because he, by doing a more percussive approach to the strings with their wands, whatever they're called, and playing the violin, cello, etc. That's Vapor Trails show in Denver on that little mini cassette. This one So Sebastian Bach was Backstage Club number 3 person, and he's the same age as me. So what number was I? Because I got it probably in like 83. I joined. Those tickets. 97s as far as I go back. I'm only seen them 17 times, which is, guys, I'm not even a rookie, okay? Let's just be serious a minute. There's guys who've seen them over hundreds plus times. They have so much stuff, so many live recordings, it's ridiculous. By the way, another Van Halen connection, in case you were wondering, is Ray Daniels, their longtime manager, band manager, is Alex Van Halen's brother-in-law. And there's the picture, the camera. I got the first picture with them, concert tickets. I used to just buy concert tickets. Oh, they're playing in Toronto. Maybe I'll go. But I would sell them and scalp them, and that's how I got from funds to go to the shows. This is pass I found at the R30 tour at Red Rocks, Frenchie, and I went and this was great. They alternated between 4 colors, so the passes couldn't be used from show to show, but this was the meet and greet or whatever for Frenchie. All access back page stage. He was their chef, and he's in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I went and found a red pen and tried to color it, and it turned orange, and the guy said, no, you can't go to the meet and greet, you've tampered with that, get out of here. This is just some pictures from the bus. Mold is a bad thing. Keep your stuff, valuables off the ground. That's Getty. He just came out and waved and blew kisses to us. Alex peeking out from the curtain. Howard. Then we followed him to Salt Lake, or halfway to Vegas. Followed their bus. A bunch of idiots. But Howard signed that at Presto. And I put that by Fly By Night because he came up with the idea of Vitor and the Snow Dog. And he told me 3 different versions of the song, but anyway, or versions of the story of how he came up with the song. But I sure would like to hear it by tour. They started playing it again in 2002 just for that Vapor Trails tour, but heard the whole thing go through Crest of Steel. The story continued, and hey, Snow Dog. This is Snow Dog, by the way. So I got to get the Black Lab too for Vitor. But anyway, say hi, Snow Dog. Yep, he doesn't even know he's corrupted with a terrible bad name from his crazy dad, owner, and magazine articles. I wanted to just talk about these guys. Here's the Order of Canada, okay? And the Order of Canada is from the Prime Minister given first time to a group to rush for all their, because they're from Canada, all their charity, probably millions of dollars to charity work. And anyway, and I mean their musicianship is so good that I heard one time actually taught at Juilliard, but I was never able to confirm that. Guest speakers. This is my Neil tribute. Rather just the pictures. That's a good one from Vapor. That's a good one, a little blurry. That's good because you can actually see him for once. There's he's turning around during his solo. That's okay. I really wanted to get the Buddy Rich tribute Neil. He showed him about 3 times on his video, but I snapped it, and not the greatest picture, but you think Neil's a master? Go listen to Buddy. I've been listening to Buddy Rich's solos lately. Just unbelievable. In a Test for Echo interview with Neil, when the interviewer annoyed her, I put the remaster CD inside cover because there's Howard, there's Terry Brown, they're 10 years producer, but because it has Neil's hand pen lyrics copy. So anyway, that's cool. So let's see. Yeah, let's just pause for a moment, right? So we're doing Neil tribute. I don't know why I use such a small drum kit. So down below, you'll see Neil was an avid reader. His parents said he read quite a bit when he was young, but he really got into it, talked about something to do while he was on the road. And here's a good one. Getty and Neil. And that's just a musical philosophies of Rush. But Tolkien's quad is referenced on the Lord of the Rings, referenced on Fly By Night. This is my favorite book as a kid, so I just threw that in. Here's Ayn Rand. Anthem is it's a required read in a lot of schools, but for the kids. But that is the main inspiration behind 2112 again, their breakthrough album. Did I mention their compilation album? Archives? I think I did. Anyway, the greats, poets, and Fitzgerald, Poe. Poe actually, I think it was Edgar Allan Poe that wrote Xanadu, which is the song Xanadu, Gatsby. And these are my two most important books to me in the world. These are turned to where it talks about the resurrection, and my belief, religion teaches that we'll be raised from the dead with the perfect body, everything restored. It's a free gift beyond judgment, our sins, whatever. But without going into all that, the point is, I can't wait to hear the music these guys are going to make after they're resurrected with perfect bodies up in the afterlife. And man, how cool is that going to be? I mean, they had such a gift that they were so hard at. So now his tribute, the Road Warrior. Neil rode his bike. Oh, I'm sorry, one moment. So this is just two of his, I think he wrote 4, maybe 5 books, but I only have these. This was very healing to me at a time when I needed it. This is where he took his bike on just, I don't know how many miles, clear from the way up north, clear down to Mexico or so, after his wife Jackie died, which was, again, if I didn't mention, a year after his daughter died. And so showed you that picture. There's just some pictures of Neil. Man, it still seems unreal sometimes that he's gone. Regarded as one of, or the best rock drummer ever. I was actually at Red Rocks, so I was probably, I think I was there or for another show there. Well, duh, there. Let's try that again. Or it's a Lay studio. They actually floated his kit on a dock. That's my picture. But that's why he's called the Road Warrior. And he would initially started riding his bicycle, then he started riding he dropped off outside of town that he was going to play in the night before, the next day, and he would ride his bike. So anyway, then he started getting dropped off on his motorcycle. Again, these pictures. And he would ride to the next show. And, you know, then he wrote Roadshow, or anyway, whatever book he wrote. But, and hopefully didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. Oh, this crazy guy, my brother, guitar player, was in a lot of bands, brother-in-law. Brought me that from Hawaii. That's just from the 2112 anniversary. Hey, it's yellow. Hold your fire. Anyway, I don't think I missed anything. Oh, this is the acoustic they did on R30 and Vapor Trails. That's after Neil jumped back in, but yeah, that was one of the cover songs, and the one they did, I mentioned The Who, but cover song on Feedback, but I put that with Neil's tribute because The Who, that's of course Who's Next Who album, because that's his favorite band. Influenced by Keith quite a bit. I think that's all, folks. Rush Wallet. So, Neil, rest in peace. Good job, guys. Very well done. Rush, rest in peace. I'm glad that, you know, I was uptight about Neil stopping touring, and a little bothered by that, but actually it couldn't have played out more, couldn't have played out better with him retiring, insisting on retiring, because only 6 months later he got brain cancer and then ends up passing away 3.5 years after that. So I'm glad he got to spend that time with Carrie. Without Carrie, from 2002 to 2015, that would never have happened. His new wife, and that time with Olivia, his new daughter. Boy, we fans are sorry, and we support you morally and spiritually, and so sorry, as from a fan's perspective. And well done, guys, and thanks for all the memories. Thanks for your interaction with me from the front row so often. Portland was one of my favorite shows, because probably my favorite, because Getty I kept saying thank you and thank you over and over and over, and he also got a real kick out of my Flash from the comic book character, superhero, the Flash, and got a kick out of that t-shirt, and I kept saying thank you, Getty, thank you. And I was so into it, and he kept squeezing between the microphone and his keyboard synthesizers, which were hard to get through. And he came over and leaned over down to me 3 different times, maybe just twice, and just jammed out right in my face. And that was really special and just fun, cool thing. And remember, let's keep in perspective, families are the most important, your spiritual beliefs first, and kind of take off of what Neil said. It's just a dumb rock band, you know, but very good musicians. And anyway, you know, Neil said on the Signals tour book, to the effect of, what did he say? He said in the Signals tour book, some will like the new stuff, some will not like the new stuff, and some will say, Rush, Signals, what the hell is that? So, yeah, just a small piece of the universe. This my daughter made me. I didn't get to mention, but it's favorite band. She made this for my 50th birthday, The Greats. This is me and her at the Kiss show and when she was a baby. And if you haven't seen Kiss, put it on your bucket list. Best show I've ever seen. Did he say that? Better than Rush? No, literally the best show. Just unbelievable. I thought the stage was going to catch on fire. But she gave me this for my 50th, and then at the bottom she says, thank you, happy birthday to my favorite rock star. Talk about melting the old man's heart. Well, enough said. All right, folks. I'll just, one of my favorite pictures. Leave you with that. And over and out. Hey, actually, P.S. If you want to talk to me about trading or buying any of the Rush gems, let me know. Things are tough financially. I'd rather part with some gems that are going to sit in a box till I'm dead, as opposed to losing the house. So, all right, folks. And don't worry, I'm not going to lose the house, but take care. All right. Bye.